live on the phone. Let's see. Boom. We're recording.
We're recording? Oh, wait, I gotta take this as Grandma calling. Yo, Grandma. Are you listening to our podcast right now?
Yo, what up, Josh's grandma?
Yo, drop your phone down and watch the pod. Let's get into it. She wasn't really calling. I just made something up.
Do you think I didn't know that? Do you think
For the viewers.
Do you think I think that your grandma just called you? Okay.
I had it didn't even ring, bro.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, quick intro today. I said let's just get into this one.
Okay, let's go.
All right. What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unracked podcast. As you know by now, we're helping gym rats of all levels to enhance their fitness and other aspects of their lives through conversation and first-hand experiences. We're your hosts. I'm Mike Gersh.
And I'm Josh Angel.
In our last episode, we talked about fitness tips and tricks leading up to a vacation, as well as during the vacation and post-vacation to avoid a nasty rebound. Today, what we want to talk about, we're going to take a deeper dive into specific muscle groups, starting with everyone's favorite, and I can see out of the corner of my eye, Josh is flexing. Chest and tries, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. And it's Monday, too. It's National Chest Day.
International Chest Day, bro. That's around the fucking world.
Okay. Yeah, facts.
So, good luck finding a bench today at a commercial gym. But
facts. I don't know about you, but I had to switch my days around because of that.
Yeah, that's where we came up with the trademark Lift Like Mike Titty Tuesday.
I've never heard that trademark ever.
Go watch my vlogs. So today...
Oh, that's why I don't watch the vlogs, dude.
Bro just likes it and keeps scrolling. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
I appreciate the support.
I got at least like...
Generic comment.
Yeah.
Good job, bro. Keep
nice
pushing.
shirt, bro.
Tag Young LA.
And then 2 fire emojis. And then like switch it up with the muscle emoji. Yeah.
Dude, I always, when someone tags the fire emoji, I always comment the ice emoji. Because I'm a cold-ass motherfucker.
You're a cold-ass motherfucker?
So, back to chest and tries. Our goal for these episodes, so we're going to do a little series on this, breaking down essentially the full body, or the muscle groups, right?
Yeah.
And
next one's going to be the crack.
It's not. So, we want to share information about the makeup of each muscle or muscle group, and we want to give you examples of exercises that are going to target the different parts of the muscle, as well as different compound lifts that are going to actually recruit multiple parts of the muscle at once. So you're recruiting more muscle fibers, breaking them down, building them up more at once instead of super specific. So our goal, we want to help you understand any areas that you may be particularly strong or other areas that you may be lacking, and this will be some guidance on how to program to really work towards that like symmetrical, well-rounded daddy C-bum physique.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I want to, before we get into this, big disclaimer on this.
Listen up.
I don't think this can really be taken out of context, but I do want to say we're going to be talking specifically about muscle building, right? So this isn't anything to do with like a performance-based training style, like anything athletic for a sport or like powerlifting, right? Where you're like prepping for that one game day, whatever it may be. This isn't even, I wouldn't even say like super specific to bodybuilding either. Like I just want to talk about how to target each muscle. Like we don't need to even go into like
You want to teach how to get a pump.
How much volume to do, like if I'm bulking versus cutting. Like we're talking just about the muscles today. Mm-hmm. So I will say, I'm going to go over some scientific terms and we're going to have Josh translate them into English for us.
I'm going to translate your womanese.
No, it's more nerdinese.
Nerdinese. Okay.
Because as you know, we had to get certified in this shit. It's funny to me because in school I was so bad at science, like biology, chemistry, all that shit. I was so bad at it because I wasn't interested enough in it to actually apply myself to it. But then when it came to studying for the personal trainer certification, it was stuff that I like was experiencing and I actually wanted to learn about. So like for the first time in my life,
Well, that
I
could
felt
be anybody in general too, you know.
no, but literally every science class. There were some science classes where I even like tried, and I was like, dude, this just isn't for me. Which is weird because I'm good at math and typically bad at science, which usually go hand in hand. But
Well, yeah, if you're not interested in a subject, you're not gonna want to learn it.
no, but even when I applied myself, like I remember in college, I took chemistry, and it was one of the prereqs to get into the business school, so I had to get a decent grade. And I applied myself, and I did very well when it was like balancing equations because it was all math. But then when it was like actual application of like compound elements, like I can't even like name the stuff. You know what I mean? That's how like not retained it was in my brain.
Probably just want to forget the bad times too.
Just blocked it out.
Or got PTSD from there.
Facts, bro. The university just really be doing that to the mental, but
Yeah, but the human body is a lot in detail. People go to school for like many years
yeah,
to learn about the human body, which is crazy too. Cause like, for example, I mean it's not a muscle, but like the brain, like we barely know anything about the brain, but we've been studying the human body for like forever, which is crazy.
yeah.
When
Well,
you think about it.
I took a psychology class that, in my humble opinion, ended up just being like a biology class around the brain. So we talked about like the different lobes and like the application of like, oh, this person reacted this way to this scenario, like what part of the brain were they using and things like that. And like even doing that, bro, like I was like, again, I tried and I still didn't get, we'll call it, as good of a grade as I would have liked. I hope my mom's not listening to this. But to get into it, so similar idea to the brain, actually. There's a lot of different smaller muscles that make up a larger muscle group, right? So for the chest, we all know
Just as big.
the chest, the pecs, right?
Yeah.
But that has to come from something. That's not just like a random nickname. It's the pectoralis. So there's 3 parts of the chest. There's 2 of them that are the pectoralis major. There's the sternal head, and there's, I always struggle with this word, clavicular head. Think of like the clavicle. That's like your collarbone area. I know that because my brother
Let's take it one at a time. The first one you said was the middle chest.
Okay, so the sternal head.
Yeah, the middle chest.
Okay, and then the clavicular head.
The upper chest, close to the
Okay.
collarbone.
And so I know what that means because my brother Marty has broken his collarbone and then rebroken his
I
collarbone.
hear that's the most painful one to break, besides your ribs. I think the collarbone. What I've been told.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, yikes.
Yeah, it was brutal.
And then the last one is the pectoralis minor, which in English,
The lower one.
the underboob.
I was trying to get like a better name for it besides saying the lower one.
No, it's the underboob.
Yeah.
The underboob.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of just give some information, right? Now you have the breakdown, top, middle, lower, right? What are some exercises that we can do to target each of those? The first thing that I want you to keep in mind is the effect that each will have on your physique. So the middle chest, right, the sternal head, it takes up the most space. So by growing this muscle, it's going to give more of that inflated look. The pectoralis minor, the underboob, is going to give, when
It's gonna
like
lift your boob up pretty much.
so essentially it's going to give you that little shadow.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like where your chest meets the top of your abs and then you have that like little shadow and so
I would say if your boob is your chest is looking like a U underneath, you definitely need to hit more decline. I'm trying to get like a shape, and then if it's more like a flat, like a straight line, then you're actually hitting enough decline, and then your under boob is like as good as it can get, pretty much.
I would say the pectoralis minor, like the decline, is probably the most ignored of the three parts of the chest.
You know what? Most gyms only have like 1, 2, and most gyms don't have too many. Maybe the most I've ever seen is 2 at a gym.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll go into the exercises in a minute. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. The last thing, the clavicular head is the upper chest. So this is where, like, where your chest and shoulders kind of meet. That's how you get more of that, like you kind of have like the rounded delts, and then you know how like I'm looking at myself right now where like you can
Check
see
yourself out, bro.
Yeah, you can see where my chest like meets my delts and my bicep, like right up here where it meets my delts, like that's the upper part of the chest.
In my opinion, I think it's the most important part of the chest.
Depending on your goals.
I think everybody.
And your strengths and weaknesses.
Well, everybody's going to be liking the incline. No one really hits the incline unless that's their main focus.
So for what Josh is getting into right now, he's talking about some exercises. So for the clavicular head, the most common exercise that you'll see someone do to work the upper chest is going to be any incline pressing movement, whether it's dumbbells or barbell. Obviously, the difference is going to make it the difference of a compound lift or an isolated lift, because you can even do like the dumbbell one hand at a time, for example.
Yeah. I mean, just anything related, even the cables too. Anything that's going in an upper movement is going to be the incline.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So think about it like
could be literally
logically,
anything,
right?
Yeah.
If you're anything where you're leaned back and pressing, you're going to recruit some part of your chest, but the more inclined you are, the more upper chest you're going to be recruiting. Where the flatter you are, the more middle overall use of your chest you're going to be recruiting. And then if you're more decline, that's when you start to work in the under chest. And that's exactly what Josh was saying, where not a lot of commercial gyms will have a decline press in general. One little hack that I found is use if your gym doesn't have a decline press and they don't have like a machine or anything like that, 2 recommendations. Number 1, there's like the sit-up board. I don't really know what to call it, but you can usually adjust it to make it declined. You can just do dumbbells on that.
That one's kind of hard though, because if you're going, because decline you can do more weight.
Well,
usually, but then it is, you kind of need to have an assistant to get you up there, because otherwise if it's like too high, you're picking up the dumbbells pretty up there.
I mean,
it's
like you read my mind, bro. It's like you read my mind, because
it's a good pump too, honestly.
It's like you read my mind though, because the next thing I was gonna say was I typically don't recommend, if you're gonna do it with the dumbbells, to go too heavy with it, because it's gonna potentially be awkward of having to reach down to pick it up, and you almost have to like swing the weight to get it onto your like knees or hips, wherever you put it, to sit back with it. So you kind of took the words right out of my mouth of either don't go too heavy or have a partner with you who can help you by placing it on your like knee or hip, wherever like your leverage is, and then you can just grab it, they put the other one on, and then you lay back with the 2 and they help you get the first rep up.
Yeah, you definitely need a partner to be the safest route of that. But that one's really good too, man. Like, I should be doing that more, but I mean, we're going to talk about other exercises that hit about the same thing.
Yeah, and again, with that in mind, like, start out with it lighter. Like I said, it's an exercise that people generally are neglecting, whether it's intentional or whether they don't have the equipment to do it. So it's the kind of thing where everything we've talked about over the course of the podcast, we always recommend starting out lighter, building up your form, use good time under tension, be able to control the weight, and then over time you'll gradually be able to build up that weight to the point where you may have the recommendation, like Josh said, of having a partner to have that person help you with like racking the weights and the whole setup. And then again, another thing Josh mentioned that's pretty important about this, just due to positioning in itself, you are going to be able to move heavier weight with more control. So that's something that I always recommend to do this at the end of your chest workout, because you'll be able to move decent weight even though your other chest muscles are already fatigued.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the move. Unless you, this is gonna be different between person to person. Let's say your under boob, your under boob is really bad, and you've been focusing. Let's say beforehand you were programming a lot of incline, back to back months, and then you actually want to work your under boob because it's like really bad. I would recommend just doing the bar though, like a barbell decline, doing that first if your under boob is really bad. But otherwise, what Mike suggested is definitely the move. You want to do it less. And the only reason I suggest the barbell is since it's the first. If you do it for the first movement, then you want to actually go. You can go heavier, of course, because you have energy. Besides that, I'm kind of curious if after doing the dumbbells on the decline, I wonder if at some point you get so strong where you're using such a big amount of weight where it's light when you actually get it up. But I wonder if you try to do it by yourself, like let's say the 80s were light to you and you were able to rep out 20.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it would be possible for even a strong guy to get up by himself and do that.
I mean, for me, because I
never
done,
went that high. Like maybe I've gone like 50s. This is way back when I first started lifting.
No, yeah, I mean, I've done it both ways where I've done the barbell as well as the dumbbells. And what I found with the dumbbells was I did eventually cap out unless I had a partner. Like, because, again, think of the ab board where your knees are above your shoulders and you're leaned back. So for me to be sitting upright, my hips are a decent distance from the ground. So I really had to like lean down to grab the weight. And when I did, I eventually had to like do like the side core exercise to get it
I
here.
was working on his abs.
And then I had to do like I had
A
to like
swing?
swing it up. So there
Yeah,
it definitely came to the point where like I got to that point with a weight that I was doing for probably like 15 to 20 reps. And that's when I started to
did the bar more.
do more barbell than dumbbell. I would use the dumbbells even to like burn out. Like I would do a few sets of the barbell and then I would just like unrack the weight and move the barbell out of the way and then I would grab like 45 dumbbells and just like burn out. And this was when I was training more like for aesthetics, so
Yeah. So you heard it here first. You're gonna eventually reach the limit unless you're like a beast where you can curl it up.
yeah, but again, if you ever
But
get
that's
to that
like
point,
crazy. That's a crazy amount. Like you
Yeah.
got some big arms, dude, to be able to do that.
but I'd still say at a certain point with the idea of safety in mind and avoiding injury and targeting the muscle that you're trying to work, if you get to that point, just simply ask somebody to help you and you're going to get much more out of it. But again, you get to that certain point, it's going to be easier to add more weight onto a bar than it is a dumbbell. So just be smart about like how you're programming it, knowing your own limits, because if you're somebody, and this is just going to be a super quick example, if you're somebody who's training for strength and size, you're living in that 3 to 5 rep range, you're not going to do decline dumbbells.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to like get that much weight in a comfortable position. Just do the barbell if your gym has it.
We kind of are we talking more of the incline now? Because we went down to the bottom of the.
I mean, yeah, we just jumped straight to the under
bottom.
boob there. So
Yo,
well,
that
I'd say let's work bottom up, right? So
Okay.
we talked about the under boob. And then we can come back to, there's one exercise that I want to come back to on the under boob, but we can go up first. So with the middle chest.
We're going middle now?
Yeah,
Okay.
so bottom to top. So with the middle chest, this is going to be anything where you're either lying flat or you're like sitting or standing in a way where your back is straight.
Yeah. Or you're in a neutral position because you could do standing flies.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
straight back means.
Yeah. Straight back.
Back straight.
Yeah. No.
Because obviously for any chest movement, like flies and presses are the big two, right? So you just need to position your angling to be able to isolate the part of the chest that you're trying to work. So again, if you're doing a barbell bench press, if you're doing a dumbbell flat press, or if you're doing the pec deck machine, right? Because you're sitting where your back is like pushed against the pad. Or if you're doing the cable flies, where you have the cables like pretty much shoulder height, where all you have to do is that like hugging straight forward motion.
Hugging someone.
Dude, you give great hugs if you work that movement up.
Definitely. The hugs are tight.
Oh yeah.
Big
I've
and
gotten a
tight.
lot of compliments on my hugs of people saying they can't get away, you know. I'm just kidding.
Yo. I don't know about that one, man. They can't get away. Yo. Did they ever get away?
Of course, if they didn't, they would be sitting here on the pod right now, don't you think?
Oh no, man. There's a lot of people missing nowadays.
Nah, my nephew, whenever we play wrestle, he always thinks he's gonna get away.
If you say so.
But he's 6 years old, so I have to like let him win sometimes. Ugh.
And I would say, the flat, anything flat chested, is definitely gonna really build out the side and middle of the chest too. Because if you do like a wide grip too, you can really build the outer of the pec.
Yeah.
Too. And I think I would say it's the second easiest compared to like, because once you go to decline, that's the easiest, and then once you go to like a flat, like builds up the intensity or difficulty a little bit, but otherwise it's not as tough as the incline. And I think it's easier too than because I wanted to get to this point when we talked about the incline. I feel like the incline is a little bit tougher because you might use your shoulders a little bit, depending if you're very new to it and you getting used to a new bench, but when you're doing a flat bench, it's kind of easy to not use your shoulders.
Well, one thing I want to kind of address what you're saying. I wouldn't necessarily use the term like it's easier. I just think you brought it around to what I agree with, where based on the angles you're using and like your grip width and things like that, you're generally either recruiting different or more muscles, right? So when you're flat benching, you're going to work more of your chest, you're going to recruit some delt, you're going to recruit some tricep, so on and so forth, right? Where we already talked about the sternal head, the middle chest, is the largest part of the chest, so you're going to recruit the most muscles when you're pushing that way. Whereas if you're doing an incline, you're not going to get as much tricep. You'll probably get more delt, but the delt isn't as strong in the pushing motion as the tricep or the chest. So that's something where I understand why you like gravitate towards the word easier, but I personally am just not a fan of the word easy in any like muscle building scenario, because muscle building is not easy. It's just you're recruiting more muscles. So mentally, it may, and I'll put air quotes, feel easier, right? Is that what you were trying to say?
No, I'm saying it's easier in general.
All right, well, I respectfully disagree.
Or is everything difficult, the same level?
I mean, it's if you recruit more muscles to move the same amount of weight, I wouldn't call that easier. I would call that less difficult.
If it's less difficult, it's not easier. It's like picking a difficulty in a video game, you know? Got the intensity, extreme, normal, easy, very easy.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I feel like you're also trying to troll a little bit. But I'm just saying, for like the mindset of the listener, right, who may have never done a decline press before, has never benched 225. I don't want them thinking, oh, declining 225 is going to be easy, and they go out and they hurt themselves.
I mean, we never said to do 225 though. They'll feel it when they do the bar. If they do the bar and decline it and then compare that to like a flat bench, they're going to feel a difference.
With the assumption that someone is advanced enough to know their own intensity, know their muscle fatigue and endurance, so on and so forth. I think you're speaking to a more advanced listener, and I'm trying to like break it down a little for more beginner.
Well, I hope a beginner would know not to just jump right into 225 on anything.
But they may not, which is something we've talked about on the pod. That's half the reason we started the podcast.
Well, I think that's more to like injury prevention, but
Which is something we talked about.
yeah, definitely. But in general, I think if someone warms up with the bar, they're not gonna walk straight into the gym, drink their water, put their stuff down next to a bench, and then be like, I think I'm gonna put 2 plates on today, and off the rip, they just go into it and just.
Bro, Zeus walks into zoo culture and just reps out 315 without having done a set of anything.
But we're talking
I'm
about.
sure that, and he's very advanced. I'm sure there's some.
But we're talking
new
about the
person out
beginners,
there.
though.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm using him as an example of someone who's very advanced. And if he's doing it that way, what do you think someone who's new, who doesn't know what they're doing, but they see him?
Well, I mean, they're going to see a big difference. Aren't they going to be like, that guy is really big. I don't think I should be doing that much.
I feel like you're arguing just to argue.
I mean,
I tried to make a simple point about just slightly switching your wording, and I feel like you're gonna take this to the death. Are we gonna have a cage match to the death of easier or more difficult?
We're gonna have to do that briefcase WrestleMania.
I think I just like jump off the ladder. I think, all right, let's put this one to the viewers. We'll make a reel out of this. I'll have to timestamp this.
You got the timer now?
I don't, but I'll find it after. Viewers, we're asking you.
No, do you have a timer there? I'll write it down in the notes. Okay.
I don't. Okay. Viewers, we're asking you. Would you look at what we're saying as easier or less difficult?
That's going to be a long reel.
Thanks for your vote. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So getting back to actual information instead of Josh and I just bickering back and forth like an old married couple, we were talking about the sternal head. Mm-hmm. So again, I think we kind of covered pretty much everything on that. Flat bench, neutral spine. And then, I mean, if you want to do anything body weight, simple as push-ups with your hands like about or just outside of shoulder width apart.
Yeah, wherever you're comfortable with.
And just keep in mind, one thing we mentioned was grip width, WIDTH. I, for some reason, like slur that word together because of my accent, but keep in mind, the wider your grip, the more chest, the more narrow your grip or close grip, the more tricep you're going to be recruiting.
Let me know what you think about this, since your arms are way longer than me. But I think close grip, easy way to know that you're doing a close grip if your arms literally touch the side of your body. Like you're able to move your arms back and they're touching your side or like your armpit. That's close grip.
I think close grip probably depends on the person.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you. What do you think is close grip for you, since you have longer arms than me?
Well, for me, and I have close grip programmed, but keep in mind what I'm about to say is more powerlifter-esque. My grip is, for regular bench press, is as wide as competition standards will allow it. Just because my arms are so long that I want to somewhat eliminate the factor of length so I can shorten my range of motion where possible. For me, I've tried close grip with like a super close grip where my index finger is literally like where the roughness of the bar, like the grip of the bar ends, and like if I moved over any more, it would be on like the smooth part, and that just didn't feel great for me. Like, it's exactly what you're saying, like where you feel comfortable, but for me, I felt like I was kind of hitting my lats on the way down, so I didn't feel very stable in the rep. So I've actually moved my close grip slightly wider to not have my arms hit, but it's like as close as they can be without having my arms hit. So it's probably like that general range that you're talking, but my lats are just like astronomically bigger than yours or something. I don't know, maybe.
No, it's definitely not that. Because we both know my lats pop out more.
Well, you got the short king aesthetics, though.
Short king, baby. But
I got those tall, lean aesthetics. I've had abs since I was 12.
But I just want to tell people don't, because I see people do this at the gym. Like I don't think I've seen. Well, I don't see anybody at our gym anymore since we go to a private gym.
Considering there's like 4 other people
you know what?
there in the morning.
Actually, hopefully they don't see the pod, but I actually seen him do this on the incline. But I'm sure he'll do this on the regular flat bench. Because I see people touch the middle, that middle grip, and they put their hands right there, and they'll do like the close grip bench. And I'm just like, dude, there's no way I'll be able to do that.
That makes me nervous because I don't
as close as you can. That's your hands almost touching together, dude.
Yeah, and I don't have like the strongest wrists. Like I played lacrosse growing up, so I like hurt my hands and fingers and wrists a lot. So for me, the closer my grip would be, and if my hands and wrist aren't aligned like in a straight line, like if my, you see what I'm saying, I can't really describe it for the pod, but if my hands and wrists aren't like together in a straight line,
neutral position,
I get like a lot of wrist pain. So like the closer it is, the more like diagonal my wrists have to be to keep my hands straight to grip the bar. I get a lot of wrist pain doing that. A lot of people say that you don't need to wear wrist wraps when you close grip, but I still have to.
No, man. Yeah, I know.
I still have to
do
because
too, man.
I would feel a lot of wrist pain.
No, I do too. Yeah, F that. Dude, I'm not doing it for that.
Well, I think it's more like the similar factor or like the similar idea of like you're recruiting more muscle fibers. So like technically, aren't you supposed to be able to, if you like are fresh, not fatigued, right? Because most people close grip after they flat bench if that's what their program is. Do you feel like you're able to close grip more or flat bench more?
You know what? I've done it. This is probably back when my wrists were actually a lot better because I would actually do an arm day, but I would do close grip bench to start off, and my wrist was okay, but I think over time, if you have a weak wrist, you're gonna need the wrist wraps. I think no matter what, you need your hands need to keep a neutral position at all times, like straight up to the air, like you're punching the wall.
Mm-hmm.
If your wrist is like leaning back, you need wrist wraps because that's gonna mess up your whole like bench too.
No, but what I'm asking is when you were doing the close grip as the first exercise, did you feel like you could move more weight? I'm sure you probably did it for reps, and the bench you were probably doing more lower reps. But do you feel like, if you can remember, I don't know if you can, do you feel like you could do more weight close grip or flat bench?
No, more flat bench for sure. I wasn't even I wasn't feeling my chest as much. I was feeling it was more my tricep for sure. I was feeling it.
In close grip?
Yeah,
okay.
Close grip. So, yeah, I could have gone up if I was going mainly, chest workout, like regular grip, but, that was more my tricep, and it was a limit to my tricep.
Okay,
yeah.
So I think that just goes back to and I'm not going to reopen this can of worms, but I think that just goes back to the argument of the chest is a bigger muscle than the tricep. Therefore, in a pressing movement, if the chest is the primary muscle targeted, you'll be able to push more weight than if the tricep was the primary muscle targeted, like a close grip compared to a flat bench. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
The tricep's definitely smaller.
Josh and I agreed.
First time.
Wow. September 4th, 2023, 4:46 p.m.
1 out of 500.
It only took 9 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for the clavicular head, the upper chest, for the flies, when you're doing it like this, this is going to be more of that like low to high movement. But, and this is one thing that I'm very guilty of doing this when I first started working out until I really understood like how the muscle fiber and the makeup of the body and everything like that. I was putting the handles too low, and I was essentially just like doing a front raise, I was doing pretty much like an underhand front raise, and then just like flexing my chest at the end. And I was getting blood to my chest because I was flexing it, so I thought I was working it. But over time, what I realized is that think about where you would have your arms for like the middle fly, and just do it like 2 or 3 notches on the machine lower than that, and really focus on when you're bringing it, squeezing your chest together, then up. Because when you squeeze it together first, that's going to be you contracting your chest, and then when you squeeze it up, that's where you're going to get more of the upper chest. Where the way I was doing it, I was just like flexing my delts. I was just working my delts and then flexing my chest at the end. So that had no real actual muscle breakdown to it. It just got blood to the muscle because I was flexing it.
From the sounds of it, it sounds like you were doing pretty much a front lateral raise, but underhand.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
what I said.
if anybody's listening, well, whoever's listening, just imagine a line going frontwards of a lateral raise. That's what you don't want to do. If you're trying to hit the incline chest, you want to do what Mike was saying. You want to put it up a few notches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my issue was my line was too straight up where I needed it more diagonal inward. Like I needed to go more out to in than low to high.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Any other chest exercises you want to shout out before I get into kind of a hybrid, I'll call it?
Well, the incline flies, it would be nicer if you're, because it can be a little tough to do incline flies on a bench. You definitely want to keep your arms a little bent. It's a different like type of fly, because your fly doing it flat, it's definitely a lot easier. And then if you do have it, like our gym has that incline machine where it's like literally like a dumbbell fly.
But the bench is inclined. I know what you're talking about. I like that one.
Yeah. But the machine one where you just put the plates on there, that one's amazing, and it has a natural curve on it too. And I know a lot of gyms don't have it, like especially the commercial ones. But if your gym has it, like dude, that one's goat.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't see that one until we started going to zoo.
Yeah,
and I've used it once in that like 1 week where I was allowed to get a pump.
I noticed some gyms that I follow, they're starting to have it slowly. But I know for sure, like a commercial gym's not gonna have that unless it's like super brand new, and even then, you're kind of shit out of luck.
I was gonna say if you're following a gym on Instagram, it's probably a private gym. I don't foresee anyone really following like LA Fitness or 24 on Instagram.
Well, I followed the Speakeasy one, and then that one they added that machine there, and that one's it's not like a main chain, but it's not a private gym either.
No, but I would say it's a little.
Because
it's a little more off the norm of a commercial gym. It has a different vibe than a commercial gym.
Yeah, but it's not like a crazy price either, like the gym we go to. It's like commercial gym price.
I would call it, and we're going to get way too in the weeds with this, so this is the last thing we'll say. I would call it more of a public gym. So it's not quite a commercial gym, and it's not quite a private gym.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right, we met in the middle.
2 out of 500.
Awesome. So... yeah, if your gym has that piece of equipment, that's awesome. There's always going to be different kinds of equipment and plate-loaded, cable, dumbbell, barbell, etc., etc. One thing I do want to touch upon super, super quick, and this is probably a shout-out more to the advanced listeners. If you want to work that inner chest, what I used to do a lot is like those plate-loaded machines or just like the regular machine. And depending which part of the chest you were trying to work, again, you could do decline, flat, or incline. But what I would do is I would sit sideways on the bench, and you would just instead of pushing straight, you would just push to the side. And that's how you would work like that inner chest. Like I would get like the crazy striations like right where my 2 pecs would meet, and then that's where you really build that like valley. That's how you look like your boobs are like 2 mountains in the background to sound of music, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And you've seen that for the machine, right?
For a machine, yeah. I tried to do that with like a cable, didn't really like it, and I would never even try to do that with a dumbbell.
Yeah, because I think the only difference if you do like the decline one, I think that's more like the inner. I feel like when I do, because I've done it like that, I know we talk about it, if I hit the incline and I go sideways, I'm for sure filling the middle, for sure.
Yeah.
But when I do the decline version of that, I actually feel like I'm hitting more of my outer chest.
That's interesting.
But I wonder if that's just because it's lower and it's I might it might be the machine because it might not be going inwards and I'm going more outwards because when I do the incline that I'm for sure going across my arm. Yeah,
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 if you're pushing across your body, you should feel
yeah.
more
I
inner.
just don't remember because I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I would argue
I was probably going
you
more
would,
outer. Yeah,
yeah,
straight up.
because there was this one
But the pump's pretty
machine.
nasty. I'm not gonna lie. That's a good tip.
Oh, the inner
Yeah.
chest pump is unreal. Because again, those striations right there, that's what makes the side chest pose pop.
I wish we had an incline one because I was doing that a lot for the incline. That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but again, just keep in mind it's all geometry, right? Like the angle that you're pressing is going to be directly related to the part of your chest that you're moving or working, excuse me. Which goes into
Oh, we gotta talk about the last one.
the hybrid exercise that I mentioned. And the reason that this is a hybrid exercise, I would call it, similar actually to pretty much everything we've been talking about. There's a couple different variations of how to do this exercise, and so we'll go through first the chest variation. So the exercise is dips, right? I want to start out by saying if you can't do body weight dips, Josh and I were talking off air, and we wanted to share some information first and foremost. So, my, I guess, point that I was trying to make, but Josh brought other information that I hadn't thought about. If you're unable to do, I would honestly say 10. Would you agree? 10 solid body weight dips?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. If you can do at least 10, then you're good with body weight. If you can't do at least 10 body weight dips, my recommendation was the assisted dip machine. But Josh also talked about
Doing it. I don't know the name for it. Hopefully, this is the name for it, like a reverse dip, where you pretty much, let's say you have a flat bench and you look away from it. You put your arms behind your back and you put a dumbbell in front of you, and then you put your feet on there. You can cross your legs, and then you pretty much do a dip, but behind your back essentially, and you do a neutral grip or whatever grip you're comfortable with, and you try to go as far down as possible. And that one is definitely a lot easier, and also like the range of motion is a lot less on that one. But you know, if you don't have if the machine's packed, because I know machines always are usually always packed. Machine one would be a lot better because then you can actually load it properly. But if you only have the bench or wherever you're at situation wise, you could if you wanted to make it more difficult, you can add a plate on top of you. But I think you might need to have somebody to help you out with that too.
plus I feel like if you get to the point where you have to add a plate on top of you, go test and see how many body weight dips you can do to see if
Yeah.
you should just do it that way.
Because you know what, it is hard to add weight for the dips too. Because let's say this is more an advanced person, if they want to add more weight, they gotta get that attachment around their waist.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta do that, or
And
you
just
can
do weighted dips, yeah.
Yeah. So
But there's also going to be between those exercises a little bit of a variation of recruiting muscles. So if you're doing dips, and let's just use the assumption of body weight dips, because this way actually you can't really target it like this when you're doing it on the bench, like Josh mentioned. You can probably still do it on the assisted machine, but if you lean more forward while you're doing dips, you're actually going to be recruiting more of your chest. So this is something, again, think about. It's still more of like more similar to like a decline press where you would probably be working more under chest. But again, if you're leaned forward, and I'm like about to do this in my chair,
I would say they have to lean as forward as possibly can.
as forward as your shoulder joints will allow you to.
Yeah, while being painful, and then you can actually go down all the way.
Exactly. So this is something when we say body weight, like you need to do the full range of motion, like all the way to like locked elbows, all the way down to however far your shoulder joints will allow you to, so you can get the best stretch possible. But when you're leaned forward, again, it's going to work more chest as opposed to what we want to go in now is why I mentioned it's more of a hybrid exercise. You can have it target specifically the triceps as well.
But I wanted to say because you were saying like, oh, I'm not sure about it on the weighted dips. I believe you can hit it if the grip goes close enough to you, and then you lean forward enough. I would say you can hit your decline.
On the
Your,
assisted?
yeah, if you go
Okay,
close.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure you can.
yeah.
I thought you were gonna say when you have I thought you were gonna say that one you were talking about. I was like, there's no way you can hit your chest when you're leaned back.
Oh yeah, not that one, not that one. The machine wise.
Okay,
yeah.
no, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
But again, the difference in the two, and this is something I'll go into more detail as soon as I explain the difference. So that would be leaning forward is going to work more chest. If you do more of an upright, like neutral spine, this is where you're going to be working more tricep. So this dip is actually going to target all three heads of the tricep. So similar to the chest, there are actually three parts to the tricep as well. So let's round robin it again real quick.
Tries, baby.
So the first part, and it's the biggest part of the tricep, is the long head, also known as the lateral head.
Mm-hmm. The back of the upper.
Yep. The medial head, the middle head, pretty self-explanatory.
Beneath the long head.
Yeah, right in the middle. And then the lateral head
is the outer side of the arm. It gives you that nice horseshoe look.
Yep, that croissant.
The croissant.
Ready? I'll point to it on.
There's another name for it.
Right there.
It's
you
another
can get
funny
this shit
name.
nice and feathery too. You know what I mean?
Oh no,
you get,
mine's
like,
gonna pop up with my tattoo. Tattoo covers everything up.
Well, that's why C-Bum only has tattoos on his forearms, because he doesn't want it to like get in the way of his muscle definition.
Definitely, it covers for sure.
We're not that serious.
Yeah.
So again, just keep in mind there's three different heads of the tricep, which similar idea to the chest. There's going to be different exercises that you'll be able to target. I would say prioritize different heads, because you're never going to be able to like only target the medial head and completely take the other two out. You know what I mean? You're still going to work the other two, but you may target one more than the other two.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely say you're going to hit everything a little bit, but it's just more like which one's going to be a main focus at the moment of the exercise. So it might be like 80% and everything else is like 10%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be that similar idea where these variations on paper may be very similar, but it's all about like the angle of the tension, right? So for example, if you're doing that like tricep rope push down or pull down, where if I have my elbows like outward and I pull the rope in a way where my hands are pushing away from my body, that's going to work a lot more of the outer head.
The horseshoe.
Yes. Whereas if I have the rope and I push it similar to the close grip, as close to my body as possible, that would probably be a little bit more of the long head.
Yeah, just a straight back pull, pretty much.
Yep. And then I would say the medial head, kind of difficult to target, but again, the idea is it's right in the middle. So something like a close grip bench press, for example, is going to be more targeted towards the medial head, but keeping in mind it's going to be good for overall tricep growth, where I feel like if you think about it, if you're growing the middle of the tricep and it's hard to isolate just the middle without having like the outer edges affected. So it's like, yeah, you may,
because that's like the heart, that's like the main part of the muscle.
If you're trying to target the medial head specifically, you're probably a very advanced bodybuilder. Like, I wouldn't even say you're an advanced lifter. I would say you're an advanced bodybuilder. Like, that's something like, I don't think I've ever in my career been like, oh man, I really need to work my medial head today. But like, I've had days where I'm like, dude, like I need to build up the croissant.
Yeah.
Or I need to build the long head, because the long head is the biggest one. And the everybody thinks curls for the girls, that's how you build your arms. No, the tricep is 2/3 of the arm.
Hmm.
So if you have big triceps, you're going to have big arms, and those shirts are going to squeeze your arm. And you're going to
Exactly.
look like a sitcom.
Exactly. Triceps always come first.
Over biceps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's nice to have a sick peak too.
For sure.
Yeah.
So one thing that I think we should definitely, we don't have to go into much detail, but one thing I definitely want to throw out there when it comes to programming, right? We talked about chest first for a reason, because when you're doing most pressing exercises, you're going to work your triceps in a secondary manner, right? Like we talked about, different variations will recruit more tricep versus chest or vice versa, but you can't do a bench press without some tricep. Like, it's physically impossible. You would have to like surgically remove your triceps.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So it's the kind of thing where when you go into the portion of your exercise or of your workout where you're starting to work your triceps, always keep in mind you're probably not going to be able to do as much weight as you would do if you started out your workout with triceps. Like if you had, like Josh said earlier, like an arm day, as opposed to like doing chest and tris.
Yeah, exactly. This is like the same thing about doing like back and biceps. You do biceps first, you're gonna mess up your back workout, and you're gonna feel it too when you do your workout. So say you do triceps first for whatever reason, and you hit chest afterwards, you're gonna feel your triceps like giving out.
And again, the chest is a bigger muscle, so there's more muscle fibers, right? So the tricep has less muscle fibers. So if those muscle fibers are fatigued going into a bench press, your triceps are going to give out before your chest does, right? It's the same idea as like what you just said, where like when people are doing back, it's typically their grip that gives out before their lat. So
Yeah.
that's why people wear straps. But that's a little preview for next episode.
Yeah. So if you're trying to really, let's say your chest is already developed and you need to work on your triceps more, then you want to just do an arm day and have like a day where you're doing tricep first, or just something else where it's not involving chest. You could do shoulders or triceps, or like some random arm workout, biceps and triceps.
I would
If you
just
have the time for it, and that's more advanced too. If you already notice, like, oh, I already have a big chest, and then like, oh, my arms are kind of like it behind, try to have more triceps, or
well,
you can shorten your chest workout and then do more triceps.
and that's again something that will come with time. So if you're just beginning in the gym, you want to work all of your muscles as much as you can. Whereas if you're more advanced, that's when you may be able to look in the mirror and say, oh, my upper chest needs a little more work, or my long head needs a little more work. When you're more advanced, that's when you can be more specific with it. But also keep in mind, like, don't go crazy programming. If you're, and I'll just use the example, like, if you really feel like your long head is lacking, it's a smaller muscle, so it's not going to need as much intensity as like your chest, for example. So what a lot of people will do, they get to that point where they're more advanced, they know that one muscle they want to target, and then they just overtrain the shit out of it because they're training their long head like it's the size of their chest, when in reality it needs much less intensity for muscle breakdown and then protein synthesis and then rebuild and then repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's a ton of like tricep exercises that you can do. Um, we've already named a couple, so like close grip bench, for example. One of my favorites, actually, and this is something that I didn't realize it was one of my favorites until, like, I had done it for a while, but I never loved it. And then I kind of tweaked my form a little bit, is the skull crusher.
Mm.
So,
That was pretty annoying. That was like probably the most advanced tricep exercise.
well, I mean, again, it all comes down to like where your hands are positioned. So when I started, I just had my hands shoulder width apart, and it was just generate or it was recruiting all three heads, right? So I never really felt like that crazy of a pump in my triceps. So what I actually ended up doing, the easy curl bars that are like not a straight line, the other ones. What I did is I moved my hands closer to where it was more like I could have my hands still neutral, but like my palms were a little more diagonal in instead of straight down. By doing that, I was able to work the lateral like outer head more of like the croissant, which is when I would like do the set. I would feel it a lot more while I was doing the set, and I would look myself in the mirror after, and I'd be like, "Damn, the croissant pump was going crazy."
Mm-hmm.
So even something as similar or as simple, excuse me, as that, where that could just be me, for sure. It could just be me and how I'm built. So it's the kind of thing where if you do it more neutral and that feels good for you, do it. I may have just got to the point where
Because
I benched a lot when I first started, so I may have just like naturally progressed my triceps more to the point where I did need to start to target the long head specifically or the outer head specifically. So maybe I just like unknowingly kind of like plateaued when I was doing like the exercise that worked all of the triceps or the heads of the tricep, Does
yeah,
that make sense?
yeah. Oh, I done that one, the easy bar too that you're talking about, but my wrist actually gives out before I do that. I think it's part of my arm length because I think it's just in a weird angle where it's kind of like my hand's not neutral, and my wrist actually gives out before my triceps. But I think if you can, this is like what I started using when I first worked out, and it's a goated equipment. It's like a square. I don't even know what it's called. It's a square, and it has like a middle bar in the middle, and then that you have your hands like a neutral grip like this, and you're able to do scroll pressures like that, and then you could just put the plates on the side.
Just like that.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. So
Hey yo.
it's like having a dumbbell pretty much, but you can load it up with more weight and you can keep more stable because it's going at the same you're going at the same time. But I think if someone's gonna do the scroll crushers, I think they should do the overhead first and then go into the scroll crushers.
Mm,
Because that one, they're both pretty dangerous. I'm not gonna lie. I seen people this is because it is high school because I seen people straight up just land right in their face on the dumbbells. I haven't seen it in the gym, but yeah,
yeah, I mean, similar to anything else, like build the movement up using a cable or a machine because a machine is going to have the most rigid, I guess, like direction of tension, if that makes sense. Like a machine, you're not going to be able to like wobble your arm side to side as much, where you're only going to be able to push in the direction that the machine is intended to go. And then as you get away from that, as you go towards the plate loaded, towards the cables, towards the dumbbells, that's where there's a lot more variance by person because even think about an incline press, for example. When you start to get to those last few reps and you start shaking, right? That's gonna not by much, very like small percentage amount, but it will affect the the I guess angle of trajectory and then that in turn affects the muscle recruitment.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. You might be using your shoulders to make up for like the lack of your chest giving out. Definitely, and then yeah, cables, machines are gonna always be the safest, and then anything free weights is gonna be the most dangerous part. But I noticed too that because I haven't tried it myself, but I seen people do it online. Like they do the skull crushers, but on the floor, and they just go outwards like that,
Yeah.
like away from the face. And then since it's like right on the floor, if they need to, they just drop it, and it's not a big problem because it's not gonna go flying. If you do it on the bench, that can go flying. Even if you drop it properly, like you don't know who's gonna be behind you.
Yeah, I mean there was that one guy at LA Fitness. with the white hair, and he would wear the lifting gloves, and he would just leave his bag and towels all over the place. You know, the
Yeah.
guy that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and he would put 135 on the bench.
Oh yeah.
And every time, dude, I was like,
that was scary.
I
Yeah.
thought this dude was about to bench, and he would unrack it, and he would just start doing like the craziest skull crushes I've ever seen, to the point where, like, I'm surprised this guy didn't knock himself unconscious. And he would do. I mean, in the only thing I respected about this guy is the, for the way he trained. For the way he trained, I'm gonna emphasize that, for the way he trained, because he didn't like really fully rep anything, but or use like great form with anything, but for the way he trained, he at least like went close to or to failure.
Or he never hurt himself, like somehow.
No,
Somehow.
I don't respect him for not hurting himself. I think he should thank his lucky fucking stars that he hasn't hurt himself. I'm saying the only thing I respect about this guy is that he would train with intensity. Like, he wouldn't just like lollygag around and do all these crazy exercises. He actually did crazy exercises with intensity.
But looked the same still.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really talk about the outside of the gym factor, but I mean, again, it's the kind of thing where if he's doing a skull crusher, but he's not going all the way down, he's not going to work.
I think he was bouncing it off the bench. I could be wrong. Was he? Because he was doing like a crazy swing, but I think he was only able to do that because he was bouncing the bar off the bench, right?
You know what he did? You
Right?
know what he would do?
Or no?
You're right. And that just reminded me of his setup. So he wouldn't go and lay on the bench like a normal, like you would be about to bench.
He's facing the opposite way.
He would face it the opposite way and have the bar on the ground, and he would have someone pick the bar up for him. So if he did get to the point where he couldn't do the next rep, he would literally just drop the bar over his head.
Yeah.
And like, again, he's lucky that he didn't get caught with the bar, because he would have ripped both of his shoulder joints out of place. Like, no doubt about it. So he should thank his lucky stars every single day that he goes to that gym and doesn't hurt himself.
Yeah, good thing we don't go there anymore.
Dude, that guy was my absolute sworn enemy. Like,
it was everybody's sworn enemy for sure, dude. Everybody.
No, there was I don't know if you remember. There was one time where I was like very close to like actually having to confront him.
No, there's a lot of people that done and been in your same shoes for sure. Because I've been in that same situation too with that same person.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, for me, especially in that setting, for me,
it was just as a bad person. Dude.
It takes a lot for me to get like worked up to the point where, like, not like confront him, like say something to him. You know what I mean? Like, past that. And I'm not like that kind of person at all.
If you say so.
I just talk a lot of shit, bro. I'm all bark, no bite, dude.
Oh, okay, like a chihuahua.
Yep, 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 yep. So what other tricep exercises did Chihuahuas do?
They do.
None, actually. They got those short little legs, bro.
Yeah. They do a lot of jaw work.
Strong ass jaw.
Yeah. Well, the tricep doesn't really need too much focus. I mean, it's really easy to program too, because let's say you're on time restricted, you can just do one exercise of each.
Restricted?
Time restricted. Like, you don't have that much time.
Okay.
You could just do like one exercise of each, each muscle group.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could probably just do two. Something that targets the lateral outer head and the long head.
Yeah. Because,
again, you're never really going to isolate just the medial head.
That's true. It's just whatever your time schedule is.
Yeah.
For sure.
So a good, I would say for a beginner, somewhat beginner, right? Because I know we've talked about this. The way I program like a very beginner is a full body workout, right? So you're a step above that at this point, where you want to start working more specific muscle groups. I would honestly say one upper, one mid, one lower chest, one lateral outer head, one long head. 5 exercises, that's your whole chest and tri day.
Yeah, definitely. You can just get away with that.
Yeah.
And you're hitting everything too.
And then again, work in. When we say intensity, there's a lot of different things that go into what we mean by that, right? So how close are you getting to failure? How much volume you're doing with reps? How many sets you're doing? How many working sets you're doing? take all of that into consideration, because if you're sitting at home and you're like, only 5 exercises, I'm normally at the gym for 2.5 hours. Like, take what I just said into consideration, because I guarantee you can do everything you need to do for that specific day with those 5 exercises without having to be there for a super long time, but you're still getting the intensity that you need to actually break down and then rebuild that muscle.
And then you want to train harder than last time. That's the best, easiest way to do it too.
Shout out Coach Greg.
Yeah, you just want to train harder than last time. You gotta keep the intensity up harder than last time. Am I right?
Of course, bro.
Yeah, and that's like the easiest way to just have a quick workout too, because that would be quick. 5 exercises,
Yeah.
3 sets, boom, you're out of the gym in an hour.
5 exercises, controlled intensity, progressive overload.
Harder than last time.
You'll be looking like a sick cunt in no time.
Yeah. And then this is like great too, because if you're able to hit each head at least once, each muscle group once, and then you have a second chest day, and then you do each muscle group once, then you're able to hit both. You're able to hit each muscle group twice a week, and that's gonna really help optimize your growth.
Yep, especially when you're newer and your muscles rebuild quicker. That's when you can really like focus on something like Josh is saying, more frequency. Because again, frequency is another factor that goes into actual intensity.
Yeah.
Sick. Anything else on chest or tricep? I feel like we just dropped some fucking knowledge.
I don't know, man. I'm like stunned from how much sauce we dropped. But we did really go into detail about each muscle group. Like, this is really detailed work that we just did, and I don't think I have anything else to add other than just get a sick pump and train harder than last time.
For sure. So, I mean, like we said, we're going to do a little series on this for the next couple episodes. So I think we said the next one is going to be back and buys. So
I don't know. We'll see. We might have an emergency meeting next time.
I don't know what that means.
We'll find out next week.
Josh is going to get another call from his grandma. All right, cool. Well, I mean, that's the general segment right there. Now we get into the easy, bro.
The sauce.
Bro,
the best part of the episode.
I'm interested to see what that's going to sound like when we replay the audio. The viewers are going to think like my roof just collapsed or something. No, but into our favorite portion or segment of the show.
The sick cunt of the week.
We're all going to make it, bro. That's it.
Mm-hmm. All going to make it, man.
So, Josh, myself, our friend Mark, and our friend Leo.
Everybody in LA.
Leo is the sick cunt of just like forever. He could never be the sick cunt of the week because he's just too much of a sick cunt to just be it once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we actually want to shout out Young LA, specifically the owner Germ.
Yes, sir.
They had an event this weekend in Long Beach. They did like a meet and greet where like all of their athletes came out. They put together this like huge event, food and drinks, arcade games, meet and greet. It was fucking sick, man.
And then they also had this. This how you know it was like really big when they had other athletes from like not even their own brand show up too. It was pretty much like any athlete that was just like in LA, because I saw pictures of like other athletes that weren't even sponsored by Young LA be there and like just say what's up to people. And I think that's why like a event or a good company is like really doing a good job is when they have like legit other people from different brands show up and
and support, bro. It's not even like they were like just like dicking around, you know what I mean? Like they were there to support.
Oh yeah. They weren't like, oh, this is ass or whatever. They were like meeting up people and stuff.
What would you say? What was either like the most interesting or most like surprising fact or part of the day for you?
Probably the gym stuff, but we didn't get to really see it. But I was just kind of surprised because I saw the clips of like the.
Well, I saw the Trend Twins bench,
and then the Pog thing too. I'm just saying.
Well, that was yesterday. We were there Saturday. Professional week guy deadlifted 765 on Sunday.
Yeah, you saw it because you were next to that line and I was on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, like just them having like people hit PRs right there, in front of everybody is kind of sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I was there more to see it, but like it was just crazy packed too. That's probably the only issue, only con I really would say is that I thought it was gonna be. It is big. It was just so many people.
Yeah.
And then next time,
Because it was a fucking ginormous venue and it was still packed, bro.
yeah, exactly. And like I can't even say like, oh, the venue was small. Like, nah, it was not small.
It was the Long Beach Convention Center, bro.
Yeah.
That shit is fucking diesel.
Yeah, but it was still just crazy packed. But they're definitely gonna probably get a bigger location next time for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so. The one funny thing and one surprising thing for me. So I did think it was funny when they were doing all the gym stuff. People were kind of like losing their minds, bro. Like they were acting like they were at the zoo and they were like looking at like an exhibit of like the gorillas and they expected like like fucking banging their chest and I'm like, dude, that is another like human being in there. Like just because they're lifting weights, just because they look crazy, this isn't like a zoo, this isn't a circus, you know what I mean? You still have to like act like a human yourself, you know?
You know why that is? It's actually like this is like science right here. It's like the innate human animal within us. Like you could smell the testosterone to like the videos, bro. Like I was hyped too. Like I was getting it in my head. I was acting like a monkey almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I could only imagine it in person, dude. Like the hormones like coming out, like all the tests there, like the twins are definitely like sorting out the test too. Like it's
I mean there was
it's going to you too. It's like secondhand tests.
Dude, there was enough steroids in that room to like just get our entire country yoked as shit.
Yeah.
So then I will circle that back. The more surprising thing that I saw, this was something that like I don't know if other people notice this shit or if it's just me, but this is like how my brain works. It was a very, very diverse group of people. And I mean that in the sense of it was all level of gym goer. Like you can tell, I mean, you fucking look at the people, bro. Like you can tell this guy's roided as shit and he's been working out for 10 years. You can tell this guy just got into working out, and then there was like every walk of life in between. So I just thought it was really cool to see like
But it's also the athletes too, because each one is like their own walk of life, like you just said too. Except for a beginner, but like side, categories of fitness,
you keep saying what I'm gonna say before I say it, bro. Get out of my head. I was gonna say that's a testament to the company of being able to sign athletes that are going to be marketable, be relatable to every scope of the gym career length, whatever you want to call it. So again, that was something that we try to do ourselves on the podcast, is to relate to every level of gym goer. So it's something that was really cool for me to see them be able to actually like have an event that portrayed their entire audience.
Yeah, no, still sick. 10 out of 10 event.
10 out of 10, baby. Let's go.
Definitely.
So shout out Gurm and Young LA. Y'all are sick cunts.
You know what's probably the other sick part? They had alcohol there too. Imagine we started drinking it up too.
I mean, not only did I drive, I wasn't going to drink anyway. Although I did have a glass of wine last night, so I broke my, like, what are we in September? I haven't drank. So I would 7 months without drinking. So that's now snapped.
Man, you're an alcoholic now.
Yeah, I'm a fucking back to my booze bag ways.
Yeah.
No more podcasts. I'm going to be too hungover.
For real, dude. You're going to be here with the shades.
Yeah, next podcast, if I have shades on, y'all know why.
Well, this was a great episode, though.
For sure. I think that's a great place to round it out. I mean, as always, before we close it out, any last thoughts?
Nah, man, we're good.
Cool. Well, we always like to say thank you so much for tuning in. You probably know by now, but we're dropping new episodes every Thursday morning on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe. However you're watching or listening, we appreciate your support. I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
Make sure to make those sweet gains. Keep living life on rack, baby. Let's go!
Like the video, man. Did it run out of space?
I think so.
So did it record?